Hospitals are never truly quiet, even at 3 a.m. There's always a hum. The sound of machines breathing for people who can't. But on the pediatric floor of St. Mary's Memorial, that hum had turned into something else. Something that felt hungry. Nurse Clara Jensen had worked the night shift for 7 years. She'd seen everything, the resuscitations, the silent cries, the parents who'd aged 20 years in one night. But lately, something about her floor was wrong. Children were dying. Too many of them. And always between 2:30 and 3 a.m. At first, the doctors blamed infection. Then organ failure. Then unexplained complications. But Clara noticed a pattern. Every death happened under one nurse's supervision. A quiet woman named Erin Blake, who had joined the staff 2 months earlier. Erin didn't talk much, didn't socialize, and seemed almost too perfect. Every task was completed precisely. Every patient checked at the exact minute of protocol. But when Erin entered a room, something in the air changed. It started with room 214, a 6-year-old boy named Caleb Warren, suffering from pneumonia. He'd been improving all week, laughing even. His mother had gone home for the first time that night to rest. Clara had stayed late, finishing her rounds. When she passed Caleb's door, she heard Erin humming inside. A low, tuneless sound like someone singing to themselves in a dream. The lights were dim. Erin stood by Caleb's bed, holding his wrist as if counting his pulse. But she wasn't looking at the monitors. She was staring into his eyes, whispering something Clara couldn't hear. When Erin noticed her, she smiled politely. "Just routine observation," she said, voice calm and clipped. Clara nodded and moved on. But minutes later, alarms blared. Caleb's heart monitor flatlined. Erin called the code, they rushed in, but it was too late. Clara checked the 4-line, the oxygen. Everything was perfect. No blockage, no malfunction. Still, the boy was gone. When the coroner's report came back, it listed respiratory failure, cause undetermined. Another unexplained death. The third that week. Clara couldn't let it go. She stayed after her shifts, digging through patient records, late-night entries, nurse logs, medication signatures. That's when she noticed something chilling. Every single child who died had received an unscheduled checkup logged by Erin Blake. The timestamp was always around 2:43 a.m. Clara printed the records. The next night, she confronted Erin in the staff lounge. Erin's expression didn't change. She only tilted her head. "You shouldn't stay past midnight," she said softly. "The building remembers things." Clara laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But Erin's eyes, pale, almost gray, didn't blink. The next day, Clara went to the security office. She knew the cameras in each pediatric room looped every 48 hours, so she had to act fast. The guard on duty, an old friend, hesitated but let her see the tapes. Together they watched the night of Caleb's death. At 2:41 a.m., Erin entered room 214. She stood still beside the bed for exactly 1 minute. Then she leaned down and whispered something into the boy's ear. The monitor flatlined 2 seconds later. But the strangest part wasn't Erin. It was the shadow. For a moment, just before the heart stopped, a dark shape spread across the wall, thin and long like smoke with fingers. And Erin's reflection in the glass. It didn't move when she did. The footage cut to static. Clara took everything, the logs, the footage, the reports, to the head nurse, Mr. Harris. He listened quietly, then sighed. "Erin Blake resigned last night," he said. She left her badge and walked out. No forwarding address. Clara froze. Resigned? Before she'd even been accused? Harris continued, "You've been under stress. Take some time off." He slid the papers back toward her, eyes empty. "We'll handle it." But they didn't. The next night, Clara returned to find all her printed records gone. The hard drives were wiped. Even Erin's name had vanished from the staff roster. 2 weeks later, Clara received a call from a retired nurse who had worked there in the 1990s. The name Erin Blake made her go quiet. "There's no way," the woman said. Erin Blake died in 1984. She was a pediatric nurse, caught giving sedatives to terminal patients. Claimed she was ending their suffering. She hung herself before trial. Clara nearly dropped the phone. She'd seen Erin, spoken to her. The retired nurse added one last thing. "They say every 20 years she comes back. St. Mary's has lost children before, all at night, all to the same woman." Clara transferred hospitals soon after. But some nights, when she worked overtime in the ICU, she'd still hear that hum, that faint vibration beneath the floor. Sometimes, when she passed a child's room late at night, she'd catch the softest whisper. "Shoo, you won't feel a thing." And once, Only once, she saw her reflection blink when she The warehouse sat on the edge of town, the kind of place you wouldn't notice even if you drove past it every day. A hulking block of steel and concrete, surrounded by flickering floodlights and endless fields of asphalt. It didn't have a name, just a number, Building 47B. For most people, it was just another logistics hub, where trucks came and went, boxes were scanned, and packages disappeared into the system. But for Mark Riley, the night shift security guard, it had become something else entirely. A prison, a maze, and eventually a graveyard. Mark had worked there for 6 months, mostly alone. The pay was decent, and the job was simple. Patrol every hour, check the cameras, sign the visitor logs, and report anything unusual. Nothing ever was. Until recently. It started small, things out of place. A forklift parked in the wrong lane. A pallet moved from one aisle to another. Doors that were supposed to be locked, open. At first he blamed it on the day crew. But when it kept happening, he started logging everything in his notebook. That's when he noticed the pattern. Every disturbance happened around 3 a.m. The same time the security cameras glitched. 2 weeks later, one of the warehouse workers, a quiet kid named Luis Ortega, didn't show up for his shift. No one seemed to care. High turnover was normal there. But Mark did. He'd seen Luis the night before, unloading boxes near Sector C, the oldest part of the building. At about 2:45 a.m., the kid had gone to grab a spare scanner from the equipment room. He never came back. When Mark checked the hallway cameras later, they were static from 2:43 to 3:01. And when he walked down to Sector C, the air smelled different, stale and metallic, like rust and wet concrete. He found Luis's scanner lying on the floor. The screen still on, frozen mid-scan. But no sign of Luis. Not even footprints in the dust. When he reported it to management, they told him not to worry. Probably quit. Happens all the time. But Mark knew what quitting looked like. You didn't leave your phone, your car, and your wallet behind in your locker. After Luis vanished, the warehouse changed. The hum of the fluorescent lights began to sound like whispering, just under the edge of hearing. The conveyor belts would start running on their own, moving empty boxes down the line. And then came the intercom. One night, while making his rounds, Mark heard it crackle to life. A child's voice whispered through the static. "Sector C needs assistance." He froze. No one used the intercom anymore. It had been disconnected months ago. He went to the control room and checked the old log. The last recorded intercom use was from October 2014, but the timestamp on the message was live. A week later, another worker went missing, Gina Myers, the forklift operator. She'd been scheduled to finish her shift at midnight, but her time card showed she clocked out at 3:06 a.m. No one saw her leave. Her forklift was parked at the far end of Sector C, still running. Had lights on. Mark walked the whole section 3 times. Rows of tall metal shelving loomed over him like gravestones. The air was colder back there, heavy like it hadn't moved in years. He found something on the floor, a half-eaten granola bar crushed under a boot. Next to it, faint marks in the dust. Drag marks, leading between the aisles. He followed them until they stopped, right at the wall. Only there was no door, no exit. Just a solid sheet of steel. He knocked once and the echo came back wrong. Hollow. The next night, Mark came prepared. He brought a flashlight, a crowbar, and his phone set to record. He went back to the same wall, the one that sounded empty. He pried at the base panel, and it shifted. Behind it was a small gap, leading into darkness. A crawl space. He crawled inside, dragging the light behind him. The tunnel smelled like mildew and dust. The deeper he went, the more he saw. Old wires, pipes, and scattered equipment, and something else. Boxes. Dozens of boxes stacked neatly against the tunnel wall. Each stamped with a shipping label. All addressed to the same place, St. Mary's Research Division, confidential. And each one had a name written in marker. Names Mark recognized. Luis, Gina. 3 more he'd seen on the attendance sheet. He opened one. Inside were bones, small, clean, and arranged like someone had tried to rebuild a body. But the bones weren't human-sized. Too small. Like children. He dropped the flashlight. When he picked it up again, something moved behind the boxes. A low shuffle. And then the whispering started again. He ran. Crawled out through the opening and sprinted across the floor. But the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging the warehouse into shadow. From somewhere behind him, he heard a dragging sound. Something heavy, wet, scraping across concrete. He hid behind a stack of crates, trying to steady his breathing. Then he saw it, moving between the aisles. It was tall, too tall for a human, its limbs bent wrong, skin gray and stretched like plastic. Its head tilted as if listening, its mouth a gash of black. It carried a box in its arms, a box labeled Mark Riley. He froze. The creature turned its head, eyes glinting like glass under the emergency lights. Then the power cut out completely. When the day shift arrived, they found Mark's car still in the parking lot, keys in the ignition. His phone was in the control room, still recording 10 hours of static. The last clear words on the tape were his own. "I think they're using us. I think we're not guarding the warehouse, we're feeding it." The company filed a missing persons report, then sealed off Sector C. 2 months later, the warehouse reopened under a new name, new management, and new staff. No one ever mentioned Mark or Luis or Gina. But the workers still talk about the glitch that happens every night at 3 a.m., when the cameras flicker and the intercom whispers for help. And if you're ever driving past Building 47B late at night, roll up your windows. Because sometimes if the air is still, you'll hear it too, that faint metallic hum like a machine breathing, waiting for the next shift. There's something unnatural about places that were never meant to be used again. You can scrub them clean, repaint the walls, install new lights, but underneath, the past still breathes. That was the case with North Point Facility, a long-retired military base turned into a corporate call center. Rows of cubicles now stood where soldiers once marched. The place had been shut down for nearly 30 years after a fire in the underground levels. A fire that supposedly claimed more than 40 lives. But to the new owners, Haven Communications, it was just cheap real estate with good wiring and a large floor plan. Evan Miller had started the night shift 2 months ago. It wasn't his dream job, but with rent overdue and bills stacking up, he couldn't say no. The work was simple: handle late-night customer support calls, document issues, and clock out by dawn. Only a handful of people worked the night shift: Evan, Samantha, Jared, and their supervisor Mr. Collins, a man who always looked like he hadn't slept since the 80s. The first few weeks were normal, quiet, the kind of monotony you could lose yourself in. But then the calls started coming in. It happened just past midnight on a Tuesday. Evan's headset crackled, followed by a deep, distorted static. He checked the monitor. No caller ID. Just a blank number. 00000000000. He hesitated before answering. "Hello, this is Evan with Haven Communications. How may I assist you?" Silence. Then a faint sound came through, like someone breathing through water. "Help, please." Evan sat upright. "Sir? Are you injured? Can you hear me?" A whisper followed, faint but clear enough to chill his blood. "Still here, under the floor." The line went dead. He called his supervisor, Mr. Collins, who dismissed it immediately. "Wrong number. Probably pranksters. Happens all the time." But when Evan checked the call log later, there was no record of the call ever existing. The next night he mentioned it to Samantha. She laughed it off until she admitted something strange. She'd received a similar call the night before. A woman's voice whispering, "It's cold down here." Both times the number had been the same, 00000000000. Curious, they checked the building map and realized something odd. Their cubicles were positioned directly above what used to be the lower research wing, the section destroyed in the 1989 fire. According to the rumors among older employees, that part of the base was sealed off because the military had been conducting acoustic experiments, projects meant to record voices through static, allegedly part of an early psychic communication test. Evan didn't believe in ghosts, but the thought of working above something like that, it lingered. On Friday night, things escalated. Evan was midway through a call when his headset erupted in static, loud, sharp, painful. He ripped it off and looked around. Everyone's monitors flickered at the same time. The company logo on the screens was replaced with grainy black and white footage of a hallway. It looked like an old security camera feed. Long corridor. Metal walls. A single red light blinking in the corner. Then a figure appeared at the end of the hallway, jerking, stuttering as if the footage was skipping frames. Jared shouted, "What the hell is this?" The video froze. Then words flashed on every monitor all at once. "We never left." And just like that, everything returned to normal. Mr. Collins called the tech department, furious. But by the time they arrived, the footage had vanished. No trace. That night, Jared didn't come back from his smoke break. Security footage showed him stepping into the elevator, the one that had been marked out of service for years. But the elevator had moved. It had gone down. Maintenance claimed that was impossible. The lower floors had been sealed and flooded after the fire. Still, the elevator had gone somewhere. When police searched the area, they found Jared's ID card on the basement level. But there was no basement level anymore. At least not officially. That night, Evan couldn't shake the feeling that someone was behind him, watching from the empty cubicles. At exactly 3:12 a.m., his phone rang again. 00000000000. This time he didn't answer. The message left on voicemail was only 4 words long. You're in our seats. By the following week, Samantha stopped showing up. HR claimed she transferred to another branch. But her desk was still there, untouched. Her half-drunk coffee, her open notebook, her badge. When Evan confronted Mr. Collins, the man smiled strangely. "You've been doing good work, son," he said softly. "We're expanding the department soon. More permanent positions opening up." Evan asked where Samantha had gone. Collins' smile didn't fade. "She's been reassigned. Downstairs." Evan froze. "There is no downstairs." Collins tilted his head. "Not anymore." Then he walked away, humming a low, broken tune that didn't sound human. That night, Evan snuck into the server wing to access the call archives. He bypassed the admin lock and pulled up every call from the number 00000000000. There were hundreds, going back years. Each had a timestamp between 2:50 and 3:15 a.m. And each recording was identical, faint whispers under heavy distortion. But beneath the noise he could make out words. "Room 13. Still burning. Help us stop him." Evan froze when he realized something. Every whisper mentioned him. And the date of the last call was that night's date. He followed the old schematics online. There really was a room 13 in the original base layout. It sat directly beneath his cubicle row. Around 2:40 a.m., Evan found the old service door hidden behind stacked filing cabinets in the storage hall. The lock was rusted but weak. He forced it open. A staircase led down into darkness. The deeper he went, the stronger the smell of smoke and wet ash became. The air buzzed, faint, electric, like a constant hum inside his skull. And then, at the bottom of the stairs, he saw it. A long hallway, perfectly preserved. The same one from the footage. Room 13's door was half-burned, the words "communications testing" still visible above it. Inside were dozens of metal chairs arranged in a circle, each one with a headset and recorder attached. But the chairs weren't empty. They were occupied. Bodies, long dead, fused to the seats, their mouths open in silent screams, the headsets melted into their skulls. On the far wall, written in soot, "We were listening." Evan turned to run, but the door had closed behind him. The lights flickered and the air grew hot, suffocating. The headsets on the corpses began to hum. Then one of them, a voice familiar, spoke through the static. "You shouldn't have come, Evan." It was Mr. Collins. "We never stopped listening. The line stays open. Someone always has to answer." The lights went out. When the morning crew arrived, they found Evan's desk empty. His headset was still warm. On the call log, one new entry had appeared overnight. 00000000000. Call duration: 6 hours, 13 minutes. No one ever found Evan's body. But sometimes the night shift operators say their headsets echo faint breathing when the lines go quiet. And once in a while, just before 3 a.m., the intercom clicks alive. A man's voice whispering, "Hello, this is Evan, how may I assist you?" The motel sat like a scar on the side of Highway 19, a faded sign that read "Rest Easy Motor Lodge." Half the bulbs dead, the others buzzing faintly under the desert wind. Truckers, drifters, and the occasional lost traveler, that's all who ever stopped there. And the ones who did rarely stayed more than a night. For Mara Jensen, the night clerk, that suited her fine. She'd taken the job after her mother passed, the kind of lonely, quiet work where no one asked questions. Minimum wage, long nights, free coffee. No real responsibilities, or so she thought. Mara's routine never changed. She arrived at 10 p.m. sharp, nodded to Ed, the day manager, and took her spot behind the chipped front desk. The lobby always smelled faintly of bleach and cigarette smoke. A ceiling fan clattered overhead, never quite steady. Her shift was predictable, Maybe 1 or 2 late check-ins, a few phone calls from guests asking for towels, then silence until dawn. But lately she'd been feeling watched. Sometimes she'd catch movement through the blinds, a dark outline beyond the parking lot lights. Each time she looked, it vanished. Ed told her not to worry. Probably coyotes, he said, smiling a little too wide. But coyotes don't stand upright. It was 2:47 a.m. when the bell over the lobby door rang. 3 children stood there. 2 boys, 1 girl, maybe 8 to 10 years old. They were drenched, their clothes clinging to them like they'd been caught in rain. But outside, the desert was bone dry. The girl stepped forward. "We need a room," she said, voice quiet but calm. Mara frowned. "Sweetheart, where are your parents?" The girl didn't answer. She just slid a $20 bill across the counter. Her hand was ice cold. Before Mara could say anything, the motel phone rang, a shrill, old-fashioned ring that cut straight through her. When she looked back, the kids were gone. Room key missing from the rack. Room 9. The next morning, Mara asked Ed about the kids. He stared at her for a long time, then said, "Don't worry about it. We get weird guests sometimes." But his voice cracked on the word weird. That night, curiosity won. Mara logged into the old security system, a grainy black and white feed looping from every camera. She rewound to 2:47 a.m. The footage made her blood run cold. The kids were there, standing just like she'd seen them, but the lobby door never opened. They were already inside. Then at 3:01 a.m., the door to room 9 opened on its own. The children stepped in one by one, and never came out. When Mara fast-forwarded to dawn, room 9's door was wide open. Inside, the lights flickered and something, a shadow, crawled along the wall before the feed cut to static. By the 3rd night, she couldn't take it anymore. She waited until the motel was empty, grabbed the master key and went to room 9. The doorknob was warm. Inside, the room looked freshly cleaned, bed made, towels folded, mint on the pillow. But the air smelled like rot. She stepped inside. The TV was on, playing static. And in that static, she swore she saw shapes, small figures standing in a white field of noise. Then came the knock. 3 soft taps from inside the bathroom. Mara turned slowly. The door was slightly open. The light was off. Something whispered from the darkness. "We left the door open for you." She ran. The next day, she confronted Ed. He didn't deny it. He didn't even look surprised. Instead, he sighed. "You shouldn't have gone in there, Mara." "What the hell are you talking about?" she demanded. "What happened to those kids?" He looked past her toward the window. "The lights. They keep it out. Whatever it is. That's why we never turn them off." He rubbed his face, eyes bloodshot. Room 9 was where it started. Years ago. A family went missing during a thunderstorm. Police said they ran off into the desert. He leaned closer. But they didn't run. They were taken. "Taken by what?" she whispered. Ed's mouth trembled. "The thing that lives in the dark between check-ins." That night, Mara called the police. No one came. At 2:50 a.m., the lobby phone rang again. She didn't want to answer. But it rang and rang until she picked up. "Rest easy, Motor Lodge, how can I help you?" The line hissed, then a child's voice said, "Can we have another room?" The line clicked. All the lights in the lobby went out. Through the window, she saw figures standing just beyond the glow of the motel sign. Small. Still. Watching. The emergency lights flickered on, and for a split second she saw them inside the lobby. Wet footprints leading to the desk. Then a hand, small, pale, dripping, reached up from behind the counter and grabbed her wrist. In the morning, Ed showed up to an empty motel. The front door was unlocked. Mara's car was still in the lot. Her headset lay on the counter, the receiver off the hook. The phone was still humming. When he picked it up, a whisper came through. "Room 9 is clean now." He hung up, trembling, and went to the guest book. One new entry had been added in neat, childish handwriting. Room 9, Mara Jensen, checked in, 3 a.m. Checked out, pending. That night, the lights above room 9 began to flicker. And the sign outside, which had been dead for years, buzzed back to life. Faint, half-lit, but legible once again. "Rest easy, Motor Lodge, vacancy." If you survived this story, prove it. Hit the like button and comment how you feel. Don't forget to subscribe to help us keep creating trembling stories for you.